Tammy with Shabby Fabrics. I'm here to teach you about the Plaid Sash-ay Quilt behind me from Wilmington Prints. I want to thank Wilmington Prints for letting us post this download on our website. If you'd like to follow along with me, you can click right now on the link below the box. It'll take you straight to our website, and you can click on the free download and print the pattern out right there. Also, while you're there, you can click to our other free downloads. We've got tons of videos, tons of downloads, lots and lots of projects out there in our videos. Okay, so today I am using the Pinking of You pre-cut 10-inch squares and the Amethyst Royale strip pack. And I also have a fat quarter of a purple, which you will need for some additional strips. So I want to show you the block in this quilt, because this quilt, the block kind of hides in here the way that they're turned. So you can see your block is right here, where you might think that your block was this large square, but it's not. It's just this piece right here. So I'm going to show you today some tips and tricks for cutting this block quickly and accurately, and then piecing it, and I'll show you how I put it together. So let's get started. So today I'm going to use a spinning mat, which I find very helpful when I am cutting like this. I also am using a 6.5 by 12.5 inch ruler by Creative Grids. I love this ruler. It's got the grippy dots on the back, so it doesn't move. When I put it down, it stays there, so it doesn't move around. So what I'm doing is I've got 4 squares here, 4 of my 10-inch squares. I like to power cut a quilt when I can. You can make this quilt in a weekend, easily in a weekend. So I'm going to take my 6.5 inch ruler right from the edge, and I'm going to make a cut just like that. And now I'm going to spin my mat one time, and I'm going to do it again. Just like that. And that's all there is to cutting your 10-inch squares. So now I have 4 6.5 inch squares. I have 4 6.5 by 3.5 inch rectangles. No, actually I have 8 of those. I misspoke, sorry about that. I have 8 of those, and I have 4 3.5 inch squares. So I am going to cut the strips now. I'm going to show you how to cut your strips. I'm going to set these aside for right now. Set this out of the way. So again, I'm going to cut multiple strips at a time. So I'm going to take 4 strips, and you're going to need to open these strips up when you cut them. You're only going to want to cut 1 layer at a time, not double layers, because we're going to be saving part of our layers. We're going to be saving the bulk of our strip to use for our border and our binding in this quilt. So I'm going to stack my strips up here like this. Make sure everybody is together. All right, I'm going to slide this out of the way so my strips have a place to rest. All right, here we go. I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm just going to take my salvages off. So I have my strips are all stacked together, and I have got them equal on a line. I've got them laid on a line on my mat, so I know everything is straight and square. So now I'm going to square off my end like this. Okay, and so my first cut is a 3.5 by 11 or a 2.5. I'm sorry, a 2.5 by 11.5 inch rectangle. So what I like about these rulers is if I cut this from this end, it has the 1/2 inch mark first, and it goes up to 11.5, and I have a straight black line, a solid black line, so I know that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So I like to cut my rectangles like this. So I am lining everything up. I have the top of my rulers lined up, this edge is lined up. I know that this is square and straight, and it's a precise cut. So I'm going to cut an 11.5 inch strip I have 4 of these, just like that. All right. And now I'm going to cut a 2.5 by 6.5 inch strip. And again, I'm going to measure from the bottom up to 6.5 inches. If you turn this ruler around, it has solid inch marks on this side, and that's the white ones. So 6 would be here, and then I'd have to find that 6.5. That's why I love this ruler. I just use this 1/2 inch side. It adds that 1/2 inch on in the beginning, so I know right where my 6.5 is. It's that solid line. I know I'm lined right up. I have a 6.5 inch square and a 2.5 by 3.5 inch square, or rectangle, not a square. There we go. Just like that. That's all there is to cutting your pieces. So you take your remaining strips, and I'm going to set these aside because these you would use for your border and for your binding. Okay? So we've got our pieces cut. Now I'm going to show you how to assemble a block. All right? So what I like to do is I like to set these pieces kind of in a pile, and I'm going to shuffle it so that I have a different piece in all 4 sections of my block. So I have my large square, I have a rectangle. We're going to put this back together like this. I have a rectangle here, I have a rectangle here, and I have a square, and I'm just going to pull my different fabric. There it is, just like this. So I have all 4 colors in one block, okay? Then I'm going to pull my different purples as well. So I have a purple here. I have another one down here. And then I have a completely different one right here. Okay? So once I get them laid out, I'm going to go ahead and assemble a block. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine, and we will stitch this together. All right, so today I am using a BERNINA 770. I have a 57 foot on, and I also am using my dual feed on this. I like the way that it moves my fabrics together, and I don't need to use a lot of pins when I do this. This foot also has a little gate on the end, so I know right where my 1/4 inch is. I love that. It just helps improve my accuracy. So I'm going to go ahead and chain stitch my other piece. Like this. All right, so now we're going to give our blocks a press. And on this one, I'm going to double check my notes here. We are going to press toward the pink on this. So I'm going to set this on my ironing board with the pink side facing towards me. All right? And I'm going to use my little Panasonic iron here. And I'm going to set my seam, and then I'm going to finger press it open and press. Okay, let's do it again. So the pink side is up, I set my seam, and then I'm going to finger press this open like this and work. This little iron is so cool. I love this thing. It just works very, very well. Okay, so now I'm going to put my block back together like this, and I'm going to add this to here and this to here. You can sew the pinked edges, or you can sew the straight edges. It doesn't matter which side you sew. As long as you've got your 1/4 inch, that's what matters. Okay, so we're going to take this back to the sewing machine. Okay, so now I'm going to go give these a press and we'll put a block together. So again, I have the pink side up, just like before, just like this, and like this. So you can see how simple this is and how quickly you could put a quilt together in a weekend. All right, so let's lay this back out like this. All right, so now I'm going to attach my sashing, my purple sashing to my top first. Just going to put it on here like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of pins in this because I want these seam allowances to behave themselves and I want them to stay flipped this direction. So when I put the quilt together and put the blocks together, they're not flipping the wrong way. I'm going to trim this thread out of here where I started. Okay. All right, here we go. Back to the sewing machine. All right. So now, when I get to where my pin is, I have pinned this low enough out of my seam allowance that I can safely sew past this and the tip of my pin does not get anywhere near my foot or my needle. But it holds that seam allowance away so it stays exactly where I want it to stay. All right, so now, as you would suspect, now I'm going to press toward the purple. So I'm going to lay the purple up on my ironing board. I'm going to set my seam, and I'm going to press this up, just like this. I love this quilt. I think I'm going to give mine to my granddaughter. I think she would love the pink and purple thing. Okay, now I'm going to add this one on to this side. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to show you when we pin this, I'm going to be careful. Let me turn this around so you guys can see this. When I pin this here, I want to make sure that this is lined up. So I'm a little bit off, so I'm just going to slide this over just a little so that these two line up, so that it's going to give you the illusion of your straight lines. Okay, this is where I want it. I'm going to put a couple of pins in it, and we're going to finish a block. Okay. So again, my pin is away. It makes sewing much faster if you don't have to stop and take out your pins along the way. Makes me happy. All right, so we're going to give it a final press to our purple. Wow, that is a cool block. I love it. There we go. And we have a block, just like that. Okay? So now I'm going to clear this off and I'm going to show you how, when you put several blocks together, how you turn them. But I'm going to need some space here, so let's put this aside. I've made blocks ahead of time. All right, so here we go. And they have a layout guide on the back, so you don't need to remember how to do this. This layout guide is with this. So we're going to go straight across like this. And the next one is going to go up and down like this. Okay. And then this one is going to be straight across again. You can also go, nope, it has to go like this. One way. And this one is going to turn. Just keep turning it until you get it. I do that a lot, just like that. Okay? So now you can see why it was important that we press the way that we did. This went toward the pink, this went toward the purple. So now, when I lay these together to sew them, these seams are gonna nest right together. Oh, I love how that just locks super tight like that. I love that. I'm gonna take a pin and I'm gonna pin this just about, I would say, a thread width, a little bit more than that, I think, on the other side of my seam right here. And I think the camera will show you that. This prevents the fabric, this fabric, from moving across and making that intersection look sloppy so that they're not right on the money. Okay, so let's do it again on this side. So the same thing applies. My pin goes right here. So it's just on the other side of that seam allowance. All right, so let's take these to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch this and we'll see what we've got. Okay. So I'm going to sew one stitch over that seam and then you can take out your pin. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's see how we did. Wow, I like that a lot. That is beautiful. So you can see how nicely these seams come together here. Okay, so then now I would press this seam open, all right? Because we want to, you're pressing, you've got all these seams going everywhere. Pressing open right now is going to be your best bet. And that way when you put your blocks together, your seams will all go together. So I set my seam, I'm going to turn it over. And I'm going to separate them like this with my finger. And I just kind of run my finger along in there. But this iron has this little point on it. And it just follows right along and presses that seam just right like I need it to. There we go. And there's your first two blocks put together, just like that. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial on how to make a block for the Plaid Sash-ay Quilt. If you've enjoyed this and learned something, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys soon.